Welcome in week 11 college football, week 10 NFL. It is Lance's Lock. And once again, we're late. Punctuality, not our greatest strength here on the Lance's Lock shows. But nevertheless, we are here on a Saturday getting you guys ready for what to me is kind of an abbreviated card, but an underrated card in college football with a lot of playoff implications out there. But more importantly to us, we have 9 plays for you guys, 5 sides, 4 totals, coming off another winning night last night where we were 3-2. We split college football, but we hit our big 7-star with USC. USC shouldn't have gotten there. Not a very good team. We'll get into that game a little bit. And we will get into any of the games you guys want to talk about on the card here for week 11. And it kicks off with maybe the best game, at least on paper, of week 11 with the ABC BYU Texas Tech. And again, we've got the feud between ESPN, ABC, and YouTube going on. So I have not figured out what my plan is today because I didn't want to do it yesterday because it's like a 24-hour pass. If you buy it for a day, blah, blah, blah. You guys know this. I went both Fubo and Sling last week, and I've still got YouTube. So I've got to figure out which one's better, Fubo or Sling today for just a daily pass. Anyway, it would be this simple. If YouTube did not have Sunday Ticket, I would 86 YouTube. And I would really encourage you guys to do the same. If you don't care anything about Sunday Ticket, just get rid of YouTube. Find out which one you like best, and unfortunately, this is probably just a way to monopolize everything for ESPN and ABC, but figure out which one of these streaming services you like the best and just get rid of YouTube. I love the quad box and I can't do it because, Sunday Ticket. I've got to watch my Rams. And I know there's a lot of you guys out there that want Sunday Ticket, whether you've got a favorite team or you just like to wager on the NFL and you want to have all the games on. So, unfortunately, we are stuck with YouTube TV based on the Sunday Ticket. And it was, the situation I was in since 1997 with DirecTV. And you guys know my long-running battle with the folks at DirecTV. But I had to stay on with them forever. Customer service was awful. It got worse and worse every single year. And I told them, hey, once you guys lose the contract with the NFL, I'm out. And right when they did, I was out. And I liked YouTube. And now YouTube's doing this to us. But anyway, that's just a small first world problem, but trying to figure out exactly which service I'm going to use today. So if you guys have something that you're locked in on, let me know. But again, I would get rid of YouTube if I can or could, but I can't. So I've got to figure out Fubo or Sling today. Okay, so here's the way it sets up. We've got 9 plays available for you guys right now at lanceslock.com. There is a free play available. We've got one of those each and every day. Going back last week, I just wanted to recap. We were 24-10 overall. We hit all 7 of our free plays. We were up 62 stars. More importantly, the 7-0 was pretty incredible on the free plays, but we were 10-2 in college football. Last Saturday, we were 7-2. We're still hunting for that elusive first perfect Saturday. Would love a 9-0 today. Last weekend, we were pretty close. Unfortunately, we got off to a bad start with Auburn and Vanderbilt. Not Auburn and Vanderbilt. Who was Vanderbilt, Texas. We had that under and first play from scrimmage. Ryan Wingo takes it to the house. Knew we were in trouble at that point. Big fourth quarter from Vanderbilt flies over the total. That was one of our losers last week. But we were 7-2 on Saturday, 10-2 overall. I think we're 12-4 the last 2 weeks in college football, including a big 7-star win last night with the USC Trojans. Not a great performance from the Trojans. Didn't have the explosive plays I thought they would have. Missed a lot of tackles. I thought Northwestern, you could just see a bunch of pasty white kids chasing a bunch of really good athletes, but they were just a better tackling team. If it wasn't for Sam Heward, every Monday we've got Brock Heward on, former Washington Husky, would have been doing color for that game last night. It was RG3. I know you guys love RG3. With Jason Benetti, he's normally on that call or has been the last few years, but he has decided to take the next couple of years off to coach his son's high school team. But anyway, his nephew, he's got a nephew on the staff, a nephew on the team, and he has got a uncle on the staff or a cousin on the staff. I forgot, however that works. Anyway, but Sam, his nephew, came in, backup quarterback, wears number 80, the same number as the punter. and David Braun and Northwestern were not ready for that. In my opinion, it was pretty cheap. I mean, it's kind of a Bush League move when you bring in a backup quarterback, number 80, to pick up a first down. And I'm going to tell you, if they don't pick up that first down with that fake punt and they went right down and scored, I think everything's thrown out of whack. And I'm not surprised if they lose that game. Also, on what should have been a pick six from Jaden Maeva, who didn't play well again yesterday, although the numbers look pretty good. Incredible hustle play when he made the tackle right there at the pylon, and defensive lineman fumbles through the end zone. Then USC explosive play. King Miller, very next play, I think took it 60 yards. They end up scoring another touchdown. Those were the two key plays. And one of the reasons we got home on our 7-star last night with USC minus the 14.5, but we'll take it. We'll take it again. I love watching the Trojans. I love pulling for USC. I don't know what the future of Lincoln Riley is with this massive just coaching. I mean, I guess you call it a carousel, but everything that's going on, ultimately, does he land in Gainesville? Does he go to Baton Rouge? Does he go to the NFL? There's a lot of theories out there. I didn't think they played well last night, but I love watching USC, so I'm glad it happened. That's not the reason we had them last night, but we did lay the 14.5, and we got home 38-17. Repping a little John Summerall with Tulane today. Congratulations to the Green Wave. I was unsure that was the way I would have played it. I talked to you guys on the show last night about Tulane plus the 3 and the way that number was dropping. Public was all over Memphis going into that game at 8-1. And maybe at that point, the Group 5 favorite to get the auto in the college football playoff. I don't think Memphis is very good. They got behind early. They made it interesting late, but Tulane hangs on, and congratulations to John Summerall. A lot of people that question him, and was he possibly looking ahead at another job and the distractions? And although statistically Tulane's not a good team, Retzloff played well last night, especially with the legs, and Tulane gets the win. And then the game we lost last night, we had Central Florida. They were up 10, just a crazy sequence. And, for that game to go over the total, if you had the under in that game, that is completely painful because 2 pick sixes within 5 minutes, each one way and the other. So UCF's up 10, then they're down 4, then they're up 10 again, and they end up losing on that pick in the end zone where the clock management, I thought, from Scott Frost, the backup quarterback, was awful. I didn't mind them taking a shot, but it was a bad shot. It gets picked off in the end zone. We were catching 1.5. They lose the game by 3. So we were 1-1, but we did hit our big play, and we were 2-1 in the NBA. So we were 3-2 overall. We were 3-0 on Thursday night. We are ready to roll. So let's get to some of these questions here from you guys. I feel like everybody's taking Mississippi State against the spread. That is how Vegas was built. I mean, here's the fact of the matter, Joey. Georgia just doesn't cover anymore. The numbers are still inflated. This thing has blown up. By the way, a little tease ahead. I've got our super tease coming up. But Georgia's now 9.5. But Georgia, over their last 20 under Kirby Smart, although they're winning these games, they don't cover. They're 6-14 against the number over their last 20. They lead the all-time series against the Bulldogs, the Mississippi State Bulldogs, 21-6. I know there's a presence. There's a lot of buzz around Jeff Lebby, and there should be. I still think it is the most improved team in all of college football. And you are getting your money's worth if you're watching Mississippi State in the fourth quarter. Every fourth quarter is exciting, but they are allowing 452 yards per game, which is the worst in the SEC in total yards. This is a crazy number. We brought this up yesterday. We were on location at the Rabbit Hole for our friends at Bud Light, doing the show in Tuscaloosa, getting ready for LSU and Alabama tonight, which we will get to that game shortly. But in their last 15 SEC games, Georgia has led at half only 4 of the last 15 times. I don't even know how that's right. But we continue to talk about Georgia being the cockroaches they are. And it's kind of amazing because just a couple of years ago, it was such a dominant program, but they're still finding ways to win. They're 7-1 right now. I said a couple of weeks ago, as unpredictable as this season's been, especially in the SEC, the predictability is it's going to be Georgia and Alabama again in the SEC championship. Now, if that's going to happen, Texas A&M in Columbia today, Missouri and Matt Zollers are going to have to play their best football. But anyway, back to your point there, it does look like a lot of people are trying to grab Mississippi State plus the points, but the way they're playing right now, I mean, their offense is scoring over 33 points per game. Blake Shapen has been really good, and although Georgia's not covering 6-14, their last 20 out, Jeff Lebby not only being very, very competitive and finally picking up a win this past week against Arkansas, but they're 9-1 their last 10 out against the number, which is super impressive. Again, we talk about it. Good coaches win, great coaches cover. And I'm liking what I'm seeing from Levy. Defense got to get a little bit better, but hey, it's a fun product to watch right now. What else do we have? I could say Georgia looking ahead to Texas under the lights next weekend. That's going to be a fascinating game just for the simple fact that you've got this weird rotation where Alabama owns Kirby and Kirby owns Texas. So I just fully expect Georgia's going to find a way to win that game, even if they were to lose to Mississippi State today. Ryan, anyways, got an outright winner. It's weird that they are the favorite being 2-6, but I got the UTEP Miners beating Ryan Brown's Jacksonville State Gamecocks. I took a look at that. Now, Ryan, I came up with a philosophy years ago, and I don't follow it all the time because it got me in a lot of trouble in the NFL. I try to avoid shitty teams. I know it's not like a golden rule. It seems very obvious, but sometimes when you get in some of these deep games where you've got shitty on shitty, and not that Jacksonville State is, they're 5-3, but it is a weird number. And UTEP, I think, is on their third string quarterback. The Malachi Nelson experiment didn't work out, but the Miners are 2-6, and now they're laying a 1.5 against Charles Kelly and Jacksonville State. I took a look at it. I think it's the right way, but I sure as hell don't want to lay points with a 2-6 team. But I see where you're going there, Ryan. You're probably on the right side. I didn't have the balls to do it. Again, we've got 9 plays up. I'll go through the games that we've got. We've got 5 sides. We've got 4 totals. We have a side in Maryland Rutgers. That's our first game that goes. We don't have any 11 o'clock windows. Again, it burned us last week. We have got a total Syracuse Miami. We've got a total in the Duke UConn game. We have a total in A&M and Missouri. We've got a total in Oregon, Iowa. We've got a side Auburn Vanderbilt, side Washington, Wisconsin, side Navy Notre Dame, and a side in the Nebraska UCLA game. So just based on what I'm giving out, let me see if the YouTube debate discussion, does it affect us? Yes on SEC Network, 3 o'clock Auburn Vanderbilt. Yes on Miami and Syracuse, 2:30 ESPN, and yes on A&M Missouri, 2:30 ABC. So it's pretty good, though. 6 of our games aren't even affected by the potential blackout that is going on with YouTube, ABC, and ESPN. Take Louisiana Lafayette over Texas State. I thought about that. Joey, we backed Texas State a little bit this year. This is another one of those games where Louisiana just hasn't played well. And Texas State is, 3-5. So we're talking about, again, bad on bad in the Sun Belt, with 3-5 Bobcats taking on the 3-6 Raging Cajuns, and the Bobcats a short 3.5-point favorite on the road right there, taking on Louisiana. Louisiana's the right way here. Again, although it's an abbreviated board, really was never, ever on my radar. Tyler Wayne Tucker and Ryan saying basically the same thing. No G5 team really deserves to be in the playoffs. I would agree. I do think South Florida is really good. I know it was a bad look a couple of weeks ago when they blew the 17-point lead against Memphis on the road. But imagine this. If they hold on there, South Florida's got the one loss. And look, it wasn't a great loss because they got their dicks kicked in by Miami, but they still beat Florida on the road. They still beat Boise. So to me, they've got the best resume, and I think South Florida is really, really good. We'll see if distractions bother Alex Golesh down the stretch, because I still think he is very, very much in the mix for that Florida job. But I do think South Florida is good. Do they deserve an auto bid? Probably not. Does anybody from the ACC deserve an auto bid? Probably not. Joey agrees. Never put your money in the hands of shitty teams. I'll never forget. I had a boss, and he got it's so funny. Great guy. About 5 or 6 years ago, he subscribed to Lance's Lock, and I really never knew he did. I mean, this is like our market manager, the guy in charge of Jocks and 4 other properties up at Cumulus. And I remember one day coming in, it was probably in November, so the season had been rolling for a couple of weeks, and he's like, "My God, can you stop giving out Jacksonville?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "The Jaguars." He was like, "You kill your Sundays and my Sundays every week by giving out the Jaguars." And it was just so funny because they were so shitty, and I just continued to play the Jaguars. So I try to avoid that now. Sometimes you get caught up and you got to play a bad team. Had the Raiders on Thursday night. They're awful. One of the worst offensive lines going against one of the best pass rushes. Scared me to death. It was a lot of points, though. We ended up getting that thing bought up to 10 or 10.5. It was a one-possession game the whole way out, but Geno Smith was running for his life. And again, we were on a bad team with the Raiders. I wanted to back Raiders against Jacksonville 2 weeks ago, but one of the reasons I did, because bad team. I just really liked the matchup on Thursday night, and it ended up being one of the worst aesthetically games that you will ever sit down on the couch and watch, if you even watch that. It's not a game, but if you've got time, what's your thoughts on John Cohen giving Brian Hartline a call? I don't think it's a bad call at all, Ryan. I think there's a couple of offensive coordinators out there right now that we're not talking about enough. And I will say one of those guys is Brian Hartline. He can recruit. He's an innovative offensive guy that has been there in Columbus for a while. He's so well respected in that program. And I don't think he's just waiting and buying his time. I think you could have said this last year before Ryan Day won a national championship, that maybe Hartline doesn't want to leave that program. He's going to hang around because of the expectations and the pressures. And ultimately, if they get to Ryan Day and he's out, Hartline would have been one of those guys on the short list. Well, now that Ryan Day wins a national championship and maybe has the best team in college football, I think Brian Hartline is open to a lot of these jobs. And I do believe that the job wouldn't be too big. I think he's been in this role learning under guys like Ryan Day, learning under Chip Kelly. I think he's ready to be a head coach. Not only him, another offensive coordinator that's doing a great job, and we'll see what he's able to do against the #1 total defense in the SEC in Missouri on the road, Colin Klein. Back to Brock Huard. He joins me every Monday on Unlocked. It directly follows up the next round. We go 9 to 12, and then me and Brock jump on about 12:05, and we do 30, 45 minutes, an hour. And we talk a lot of college football. We talk a lot of NFL, but, he brings up Colin Klein all of the time. He's just like salt of the earth kind of guy, can recruit, very innovative, can relate well to the players. It wasn't long ago. I mean, I remember well when he was a Heisman finalist, we were on a bus heading down to Miami. I think it was George Strait's tour bus, if I'm getting this right. And it was me and Dunaway and Brown and a different market manager in the suit, Ryan Haney and his wife and my ex-wife. And we had so much fun on the way down there. But I remember one of the games we watched was Kansas State. I think it was in a Fiesta Bowl against Oregon. And Colin Klein was the quarterback that year for Bill Snyder. He was a Heisman finalist. So he's not like far removed from playing. So I think he relates well to the players. And by all accounts, everybody that I've talked to that is in these inner circles and talking to coaches, and they think he's going to be a superstar. So I think the Hartline is a good call. I think Colin Klein, knowing the territory of the SEC now, would also be a good call. Joey, LT, let me know if you need an ESPN Unlimited login. Ooh, very interested. Will that give me everything, Joey? If so, let's figure this out. I think we follow each other on Twitter or Instagram or something. If we do, just let me know and I will circle back, and that might be the easiest option for me today. Had a complete meltdown at 11 o'clock last week, getting ready for that Vanderbilt in Texas game and not being able to get in until I was watching the Skycast. And it took me like 15, 20 minutes to figure out how to get on the regular broadcast. Tyler, if it's the right play, I'll take a shitty team. I agree. It's easier to blame when you lose on a quality or a very middle team. It's easier to kind of digest that when you lose on the shitty team. And that was kind of the one reservation about playing the shitty team in the first place. That's when you're like, why did I play the shitty team? But yes, you are right. If it's the right play and they get you to the window, I'll take a shitty team as well. It would be nice if Florida State could get some wins down the stretch to at least make the loss at the beginning of the season look a little better. I don't disagree for Alabama fans. I don't think it's really going to matter. That is just one of those head scratchers. And look, there's been a lot of head scratchers this year in college football, and we're going to see them again today. There will be a 2-touchdown dog that wins the game outright. We're seeing it every single weekend in college football. The weird thing is how Alabama could play with no energy or motion in week one of a season where they fell short of expectations last year. They got completely physically handled, and then they're able to roll off 7 straight, including 4 straight against top 25s without a bye. So it's just really, really strange. But with that said, Florida State and Clemson, much like Alabama against LSU, has owned this. They've won 8 of their last 9 against Florida State. Florida State finally gets in the win column in the ACC with a dominant performance over Wake last week. The offense is still really good with Tommy Castellanos. I mean, they're averaging 40 points per game. It's a top 10 offense. The defense isn't bad. They're only giving up 20 points per game. They just aren't winning, and they're not covering. 1-4, their last 5 out against the number. But this is crazy. Much like Georgia being, 6-14 in their last 20 against the number. Clemson in their last 9 in Death Valley, they're 0-9 against the number. They are not covering any of these, and they're a bad defense and a bad offense. So I don't trust Clemson at all. I think I would play Florida State plus the 1.5 here. I took a look at it, ended up staying away from it. But I think Florida State's a pretty good play there. Ryan, what's your DraftKings lineup look like today? And do you have a player that is a must start? I appreciate you asking that. I will tell you right now, I had forgotten to do this until last night, but here is what I have got today. I know this is going to bore some of you guys, but I will be quick with this. Early. I am my one must play here. I think Zachariah Branch is really getting involved in Mike Bobo's offense. And I bring up the fact that Mississippi State, and I stayed away from this game. You can get Zachariah Branch for $5,100, which is kind of middle of the road for a guy that I think is going to put up 20 plus points today. I think that's a nice play. And how about this? I've got Jeremiah Cobb. He's $7,300. He's pretty expensive. I think he comes to play today, and I think that is a path to victory for Auburn, is running the football directly at this Vanderbilt defense. Hopefully Ashton Daniels can stay out of his own way, but I think Cobb's going to have a big day against pretty good Vanderbilt defense. And then I've got Julian Sayin. There are some people out there that believe Sayin is going to win a Heisman Trophy. He could. I think it is wide open. I think if there were 5 invites, he's probably one of the guys right now. But they are on the road taking on what is an awful Barry Odom Purdue team. And I think that Julian Sayin will put up some massive numbers here. 15 straight Big Ten losses for Purdue, and that scoring defense, 88th right now, giving up 27 points per game, and they're 6-14 their last 20 out. So I think Sayin has a big day. So I would go Zachariah Branch, Jeremiah Cobb, Julian Sayin. Those are 3 for you early. And 2 of those are pretty expensive in Sayin and Jeremiah Cobb, but I think Branch is a nice little, I don't want to call him a dark horse. What do you think about Kansas plus 4.5 and Florida State? Okay, so I just mentioned Florida State, Joey. I took a look at Kansas too. Kansas playing at Arizona. Arizona was really surprising back in September. I remember I had Kansas State on a Friday night against them, and Arizona just completely curb stomped them. But I did take a look at KU in this spot. Ended up avoiding it. But Kansas right now, it's gone up to 5.5. I don't necessarily like the way that thing is moving. And I think that total is a little low for where it should be. Money's pretty split on this one. I was going to play Kansas, but I ended up staying away. Oh, what else do we have? Any other things on here? We're going to stay on about 5 more minutes, and then I have got to figure out my TV situation. But Joey, if you are willing to shoot me a text or a direct message, and I can get that unlimited login, that would be great. If I can just go right to it, not worry about it, as long as it doesn't affect you. Okay, to recap, I'm going to get into the super teas real quick. To recap, we were 3-2 last night. We were 3-0 2 nights ago. We're coming off 7-2 last Saturday. We were 10-2 in college football last week. We were 24-10 overall. We've been killing the NFL. We're already 1-0 this week. We hit our big 7-star last night with some Bush League antics from Lincoln Riley rolling in. Sam, you were the backup number 80 punter. I guess that's on David Braun. Again, I loved it because we were laying the 14.5. But without that and without the Maiva tackle and the ball going through the end zone, not only does USC probably not cover, there's a good chance they lose that game, which would have been an awful, awful loss. Joey sent me an IG direct message. Thank you. I really, really appreciate that. Ryan, do you have a play on the Oregon-Iowa game? I really like to cover. You really like who to cover? I like to cover too. I do have a play on that game, but I played the total. So we had Furman on yesterday. Talked about this early in the week. I really liked Iowa. Now I'm starting to like Oregon. I know weather is going to be a factor. We talked about this yesterday. On the next round, there's a chance we get snow in the second half. I hope we see that. If I played the side here, I would lay the points with Oregon. You go back to Oregon against Penn State, and we were like, what a gutty win. Penn State comes back, they tie it up, goes to double overtime. Oregon finds a way to hold there. They get that win. It was a different win back then because Penn State had everything on the table. They had their starting quarterback. They had a fan base that was electric that night, at least for a good majority of that game. But since then, Oregon gets physically beat down against Indiana, and they've just looked a little off. I go back to the Wisconsin game a couple of weeks ago. The offense was completely out of sync. You never see that from a Will Stein offense. And I want to see them identify more playmakers offensively. I honestly think Oregon's defense is better than the offense. Now, with that said, Oregon's defense could go in and completely dominate on the road. Iowa's got a really, really good defense too. I mean, we're talking about the 6th scoring defense for Oregon right now, giving up less than 2 touchdowns per game. Iowa's got the 4th scoring defense, giving up 13.1 points per game. Now, they haven't beaten a ranked team since 2021, and I do think Gronowski is a little too one-dimensional, just trying to get it done with his legs. They don't have any playmakers on the edge. So I like Oregon with defense winning this game, so I would lay the 6 points on the road. Feels like the public is heavy on Iowa. I agree, Tyler, and that's one of the reasons. I'm a contrarian. You guys know that by now, that I would get me some Oregon. When you can play quality against the public, it's always the way to go, in my opinion. But I did stay away from that one for whatever that's worth. I played a total there, that 2:30 CBS game. Gary and our man Brad Nessler will be on the call there. So look, you guys have a wonderful Saturday, week 11 already. I cannot believe we are this deep in the college football season, week 10 in the NFL. Again, we'll have all our NFL plays up later today. We've already started to take a look at that board. We have been slaying the NFL. We're going to have another big day there. We've had one losing week through 9 weeks in the NFL. It was last weekend. We were 2-3. So we're already 1-0 this week. It's going to be a big week in the NFL. It's going to be a big Saturday. Programming note here. We will be back. Mick Gillespie is on his way here right now. We're going to watch ball today. And then I am going to jump on with him with his tailgate show if I am still conscious at 10 o'clock tonight. We will see how that goes. But following LSU Alabama right here, Mick Gillespie's tailgate show. Hopefully Jake Coker is going to jump on there. I think Ryan Brown at some point is going to jump on there. But it should be worth the watch. It will not necessarily be from the old school Club LT, which I had a couple of people at the rabbit hole asking me, why don't y'all do the late night show anymore? I said that was a 50-50 thing. That was like politics in America. It was split down the middle. Half the people loved it. Half the people hated it. I kind of got voted out on that. So that's why we don't do it. But tonight could turn into that, just to let you guys know. Oh, super tease before I get out of here. And this is such a layman tease. I don't know how we're going to get out with it, but we're going to play it, see where it goes. SMU in Chestnut Hill taking on BC, gutty effort from Bill O'Brien. You saw him snap it. The media this week, they're 1-8. SMU coming off that big win, laying 10.5, taking the Ponies down to -0.5. That's an 11 o'clock ACC network game. Georgia, everything is in front of you. You cannot lose to Mississippi State. They might be the most improved team in all of college football. They've kept all these games extremely close. I look for Georgia to get out to a fast start today, and I think they're going to lead at halftime. How about that? How novel is that for Georgia to finally have a halftime lead? Again, if you're just jumping on here, they've only led 4 of their last 15 SEC opponents at halftime, which is insane. But Georgia plus a half. And then finally, in Tuscaloosa, I told you we'd get to this game. I don't like a side necessarily, but I am going to play Alabama -0.5 against LSU. The Kalen DeBoer losing to the unranked teams, old stuff. Rearview mirror, 11-0 at Bryant-Denny. Alabama still has not played that full 4 quarters. I am a little nervous with Frank Wilson and seeing how this LSU team really backs an interim coach. But again, SMU -0.5, Georgia +0.5, Alabama -0.5. There's a super tease for you guys out there. And finally, final one, Joey, I'm curious if Penn State has a pulse today. I don't think they will. It's an 11 o'clock game, disgusting game. So I am staying away from it. But I think Indiana, who was 2-25 all time, and I brought this up last night, 2-25 all time against the Nittany Lions. Curt Cignetti is trying to establish this as one of the legitimate current NIL transfer portal destinations, and they are trying to establish themselves as a dominant program in today's college football. And the way to do that is to go out there, no matter who the opponent is, dominate them. And they're number one in scoring offense. They're number three in scoring defense. And they have the best scoring margin in all of football, beating opponents by over 33 points per game. So, and they're 6-2, their last 8 out against the number. I think Indiana rolls today. It's an 11 o'clock game. I'm staying away from it. But I don't think Penn State will have anything for them. Okay, you guys, again, about 200 of you guys jumping on live. We went 30 minutes. We appreciate that. Going to be back in some capacity tonight. Would love to be back on talking about a perfect 9-0, but for sure we'll be back on with Mick Gillespie at some point on the Bama tailgate show, post-game show. That is going to be directly after LSU Alabama tonight, probably around 10 o'clock. So look out for notifications on that. We will jump on. But look, have a wonderful day. We do appreciate you joining us right here at Lance's Lock. Again, lanceslock.com. Free play every single day. We are rolling into the weekend. We've got 9 winners, 5 sides, 4 totals available right now at Lance's Lock. You guys have a great day. Enjoy it.